Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another Riftbound video. Got something a little bit different from the deck guide videos today. Today we're going to be doing a VOD review on one of my most recent matches in the Riftlab Trials Tournament 2 that happened last weekend. This was a three game set, which I was able to scrape out with a 2-1 victory using my anti-gear Viktor deck that I brought, and it is against a ramp Master Yi deck. Master Yi was really popular this tournament. I believe he was the second most popular deck. And in my 6 matches I played this tournament, I actually played Master Yi 3 times. So I thought that this would be a good opportunity to share what to expect when going up against these decks, as I don't think they're going anywhere, and how you can beat them when you see them in a tournament. So I know this is a little different from my usual content, but I'm trying out something new, hoping you guys like it. And without further ado, let's get into the deck list and then we can get into the VOD. So I'm going to be doing a full deck guide video on this deck coming soon. I'm still refining it, still working on it, but for now we can do a quick walkthrough. We've obviously got the Viktor Herald of the Arcane Legend. We're rocking 7 Order and 5 Mind Runes. For battlefields, we have Zaun Warrens, Arena's Greatest, and Candlelit Sanctum. And it's mostly a standard deck, with the glaring difference being that we're running 3 Salvage in the main deck. The reason we're doing this is because going into this tournament, I expected to run into 3 decks a lot. I knew Kaisa would be there, and I knew I'd have to make some adjustments against her, but I thought that there would be a lot of Hook Darius, Dazzling Aurora Misfortune, and Master Yi. 2 of the 3 ended up being true, as I did, like I said, play against a lot of Master Yis, and some of them being Dazzling Aurora, and I played against some Misfortune Dazzling Aurora decks. So the Salvage proved useful in those matchups, but I never myself ran into the Hook Darius deck. Other than that, we've got the pretty standard Viktor cards, the very strong Order and Mind Runes. We've got Hidden Blade, Smokescreen, Cull of the Weak. For removal, we've got strong early game units with Daring Poro, Soaring Scout, Watchful Sentry, Trifarian Gloryseeker, and Noxian Drummer. Shen to catch our opponents off guard, really strong mid-range unit and token generators between Manufactor, Captain, Cruel Patron, and Leona, as well as Sprite Mother. And then our late game closeout units would be the Machine Evangel, Riptide Rex, and Thousand-Tailed Watcher, with 3 copies of Grand Strategem being played due to us having a lot of tokens on the battlefield, especially with Machine Evangel. Other than that, I think we can hop right into match 1 and we'll pick it up from my opening hand. All right, so in game 1, I believe I was going second in this. So upon initial draw, I had 2 Stratagem, a Vanguard Captain, and a Siphon Power. Really not a great starting hand, and so we definitely need to toss at least one of the Stratagem, and I believe, oh, I actually get rid of both of them. So that is kind of a bold play, but we do know we're playing against Master Yi, and I did anticipate this being the Dazzling Aurora Master Yi, which, spoiler alert, as it turns out, it actually was not that variant. But I tossed both of those just knowing I needed to draw some early units so I could have some presence in the early game, and in my mind, get to 4 or 5, 6 points before they had a chance to play their Dazzling Aurora. So I ended up drawing what I needed. It's kind of hard to see here, but I drew a Cull the Weak, the Daring Poro, as well as the Faithful Manufactor. So I now have some early and mid game units to play. Turn 1 is a very simple turn. We know we're going to play Poro into Viktor unit every time going turn 2. Our opponent goes for ramp, further reinforcing the idea in my head that they're going to be going for that Dazzling Aurora card, just because that card's played in all Dazzling Aurora decks. So looking here, I realized that I'm gonna need the Hidden Blade later for at minimum Master Yi, and for whenever our opponent comes in with the Dead Bloom Predator or any of the other big units. So leave both of those in there. Grab my 2 points. I'm anticipating I will for sure get to 4 points next turn because there's no accelerated units being run in this deck. The only way they would have a unit to counter us is if they had the first make card that could ready up one of their cards played this turn. But we're pretty sure they don't have that. Other than that, it's very, very simple. We're playing on curve. We're playing our Faithful Manufactor along with a Recruit, just playing units, occupying our battlefield, getting our hold points. Remember, because we have the longest staircase, or whatever that battlefield's called, we have to get to 9 points this turn. And so now we have an interesting situation. So we have one, two, really three removal cards in our deck. So now when I'm playing this game, I'm thinking that Riptide Rex is going to be a really great answer if our opponent plays Master Yi next turn and has to use all his mana to do that. We know that Master Yi decks run Defy, which is to counter a 1 power color spell that costs, I believe, 4 or less, 3 or less. And so Defy will work against both Cull the Weak and Hidden Blade, but it basically becomes useless on Riptide Rex. So I know this turn that likely coming next turn is going to be Riptide Rex, and that I need to have enough runes to be able to respond to that next turn with that. And just a play around him having a Defy at this point. We know I'm going to go up to at minimum 6 points, so we're in a pretty good spot here. But these are the kinds of things you need to be thinking about in the Master Yi matchup, because Riptide Rex also is very useless against some of his other late game cards, such as Deadbloom Predator, the White Flame Protector, or really just any card that's going to be big and have buffs. Because the only way his Master Yi survives Riptide Rex is with Zonia's Hourglass, or he has to waste a buff on his card, which that he ideally wants to use on his turn in a more offensive direction. So now we see he's up to 10 runes. So this is the turn he could play Dazzling Aurora if he has it. But as we'll see, he does not play Dazzling Aurora. He goes for the Master Yi as we predicted. And so now what I'm anticipating is he's going to take the battlefield and charm the other unit or my other guy here to the battlefield to deny the points. So here it is. Master Yi protected with Zonia's. He's easily going to take this. So now we have a decision. Do we want to try and go for the Hidden Blade, or do we want to just kill it with Riptide Rex next turn and hope he doesn't have a buff? In this case, I decided to try and kill it with Riptide Rex next turn, and decided that the one cost he was saving with his runes was more likely saving for a Defy than it was for a buff to buff it out of Riptide Rex range. So I go for the play, and does it pay off? Opponent thinks about it for a second. I believe it does. I don't remember him having the buff card in hand. He could also just be bluffing so that he'd make me think he might have the card. But Riptide Rex goes off. He's not able to defend it. Remember, Master Yi's +2 might from his legend ability doesn't go off unless I enter the battlefield as an attacker. We get our point for hold, and then now that we've used Riptide Rex to kill, we can attempt to Cull the Weak. There comes the Defy that we predicted earlier. That's no big deal because we're going to just Hidden Blade it whenever we get the chance next turn. We're up to 6 points. He's only going to be able to take one battlefield, or he's going to have to charm or somehow move his Master Yi over and invest a lot of resources, in which we have answers for most of those plays at this point. So we're sitting in a really good spot. Unfortunately, we do have to get to 9 points this game and not 8, but we're still in a good spot to hit 9 points before he gets too many other big guys out anyway. So things I'm thinking about left are, what can I do with this last floating rune, or do I just use it on the Viktor token? And in the end, I decide just to use the Viktor token, and it's better to do that than just use the bluff, since there's nothing I can do anyway. So skipping ahead real quick, we'll see that Master Yi goes in first just to kill off our 1 might unit, which obviously gets obliterated. He then is able to scry due to the battlefield. And then he will charm our, or does he not? No, he does. He charms our Faithful Manufactor, which is an interesting choice, which means to me that he must have some way to really get to that battlefield. I think he left it up. This could have been a mistake on his part. In fact, no, it wasn't a mistake, because he knows I have all these tokens that I can just go and grab that extra point with. So he charms my most powerful unit just to get it off the battlefield, get it done. And he's in a really tight spot now. He does have the Zonia's Hourglass up for his Master Yi if we kill it again. But like we said here, he's not going to be able to, unless he has Deadbloom Predator exactly, be able to come and stop us from getting our hold point. So as the turn plays out here, we get our point from the hold, and then here's where Salvage comes into play. People are not expecting Salvage in game one, especially. They think that if anyone's running Salvage at all, it would most likely be in a scenario where you're sideboarding it in game two. But we have 3 copies in the main deck. So we go for the Salvage. We get rid of the Zonia's Hourglass first with the Salvage. We then Hidden Blade, hope he doesn't have Defy, but if he had Defy, he would have used it on the Salvage. Get our 8th point, and now there's pretty much nothing he can do unless next turn he has Deadbloom Predator and Charm exactly. And as you can see, he does not. So we're able to take game one. We're able to make the Master Yi split their resources across different battlefields. We're able to make him use Charm on really dumb and useless targets like our recruits or our 2 might units. And we're able to overwhelm him even with going second and get off to a really, really strong start to this game. Winning game one is a huge deal, especially when we're not going first. So now I'm going through the sideboard. So I know my face is covering it up here, but I have it written down just so I can let you guys know what my sideboard is. In this game, I brought in Hidden Blade, Cull of the Weak, 2 unchecked powers, and 2 Leonas into this game. Cull of the Weak and Hidden Blade are obvious. We need that removal for his really large units here. We want the unchecked power in the case because, again, at this point, I still think he's running Dazzling Aurora, and I thought he just didn't draw it. So unchecked power is going to be a really good card if he thinks he's safe because he maybe has Dazzling Aurora off turn 3, starts to load the battlefield up with units. We draw this, we can clear off all his units, and then hopefully get some points the very next turn. And then I brought in Leona because against Master Yi, Leona is really strong against those cards like the Clockwork Keeper, the Defensive Poro, just any of the units he plays that are going to go from like 2 might to 4 might when we become attackers. Leona is very good against Master Yi in that scenario. I sideboarded out a Siphon Power because our tokens are not going to be super powerful this game. We're more of using them as generators for Cull of the Weak and just to get little rinky-dink 1 points here and there on the battlefield. 2 Vanguard Captains. This is where I was slowly realizing that I almost never really wanted to play Vanguard Captain, especially because if it was like a turn where I had more mana to even Legion combo with it, there were just other better plays. So I got both of hers out of there. I got a Sprite Mother out just because it makes sense with Leona also being a 4-drop. Brought Cruel Patron out because I figured that even at 6 might, whenever he's charming my big units, they're able to get over that 6 might barrier relatively easily if they charm my Cruel Patron in. And then lastly, I brought out a Thousand-Tailed Watcher just because same case scenario. They're probably just going to charm our Thousand-Tailed Watcher. If we get all the way up to that 8 mana spot, we'd probably rather be playing Grand Strategem anyway. So those were my logic and reasoning behind bringing those cards in. So here we go into the game. He's got a bit of a stronger start this time because he actually has a 2-drop to play on turn 1, and he does not draw the card, but still, just getting that body down turn 1 puts him at 4 might. We're going to have to attack into him and use some of our removal here. We don't have the worst starting hand, as we do have 3 pieces of removal and a Leona, but we're going to have to waste that on a relatively weak unit if we want to go in and get the battlefield. So now it's our turn. After turn 1, playing the Soaring Scout and the recruit token, we now have a choice to make. Are we going to Cull of the Weak or Hidden Blade for low value, but in the attempt to maintain board tempo? We have to also, quick note right here. So Sigil of the Storm, whenever you conquer there, you have to recycle one of your runes. So what I did there was I floated a rune before recycling it, which means until the end of the turn, that's like a untapped rune because I tapped it before I recycled it. So it's like I can use that rune to pay for costs of stuff. So always do that if you have to recycle a rune that hasn't been tapped yet. So it sucks, but we can't just not take the point. So in that case, now I have a decision to make. Do I want to get Leona down, or do I want to try and Hidden Blade his unit, or Hidden Blade or Cull of the Weak his units off the battlefield in an attempt to get a 2nd point? I decided to go for the Cull of the Weak so that I could also get the Soaring Scout value. And which unit did he end up just killing here? He kills off his Clockwork Keeper, which allows us to go in and get that second point. But now we're at a bit of an issue. If you look at my hand here, Leona, Hidden Blade, Cull the Weak, Salvage. This is where Zaun Warrens sometimes come back to bite us. This is a situation. I don't really want to throw out any of these cards. I think, as you're going to see, I end up deciding to throw out a Cull of the Weak just because I also have the Hidden Blade in hand. If I could go back and do this over again, I believe I would throw out Salvage. But remember, the reason I wasn't throwing out Salvage in this case is because I thought it was a Dazzling Aurora deck. So I was really holding on to that Salvage so that I could use it against the Dazzling Aurora and just win the game instantly. But I throw out a Cull of the Weak knowing I have a Hidden Blade and knowing that I wanted to play Leona on turn 2, on the next turn. And so I get rid of Cull of the Weak, get my second point, realize I will probably get a hold point for third, or no. What happened? Oh, because I Cull of the Weak my unit there. So I decide to play the second recruit with my other mana onto this battlefield, with the reason being that if he now wants to take this battlefield and get the Zaun Warrens ability, he has to spend a buff card in his own guy, or he has to conquer the other battlefield, recycle one of his runes, which is something he does not want to do if he's really trying to ramp up. So he does have the discipline, so he's able to take this battlefield relatively easily, which kind of sucks, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And he's able to get a hold down. So these are the reasons we bring in Leona in the sideboard, is to deal with cards like this. But now we're kind of screwed because my entire turn is going to be playing Leona and a recruit token, and he's going to get the hold off. And if he has any sort of buff card, he's going to get another hold off, because if he has any sort of buff, we're not going to be able to take this battlefield. So now you can see I'm really regretting throwing away my Cull of the Weak here. But that's the way the cards go sometimes. So playing through this, it takes a bit to do. This is a kick in the nuts right here, right? He has Sabotage. Sabotage is a really strong card where the opponent gets to see your hand and then toss a non-unit card from that. That's obviously very strong, not just in the fact that they can throw out one of our really strong spells like Smokescreen here, so now it's going to be nearly impossible to take this battlefield, but he also gets to see what we have in hand. So now he's not going to overload his battlefields with units, because he knows I have the unchecked power in hand, and he knows that I really am desperate and relying on my draws here. So I can attempt to Hidden Blade, but he's most likely going to defy that. Or I can attempt to go for the trade where my Leona would live and my recruit would live, and then he would not, because we'd be matched in might. But remember, when Leona attacks a battlefield, she can stun. So he's not going to do any damage. But if he has any sort of buff, we have to go back to base exhausted, and he's going to get another hold on the battlefield. And it's almost certain that he has this buff since he's not spent any of his runes. But in this case, when I'm losing like this is a situation where you have to play just assuming they don't have it. Because if they do have it, yeah, it sucks, but you had to go for it. Because if I don't even make the attempt, then we're just going to continue to dig ourselves in a bigger hole here. But it is kind of suicide to just blind attack into a Master Yi with this much rooms up, so he has Discipline. Of course, it goes through. We don't lose anything because of the stun, but he is going to go and get another hold off. So now it's his turn. We've got all these guys in base. We're hoping he doesn't charm our Viktor. Viktor was really the only play we had last turn, so even though we weren't going to generate any value off of it, I felt that I had to play it just for the sake of tempo. He's going to ramp a little bit, draw some cards, charm our Viktor, so he does have the charm that we're afraid of. Our Viktor dies since he goes up to a 5 might whenever a unit enters the base, which we do. We have nothing else to do here. He's going to retreat now, knowing that I have enough units here of 6 might to get over his 5 might without using a buff. So we will take the points, and we will go for the Zaun Warrens to toss out our useless Trifarian Gloryseeker. And then even though we're going to have to recycle a rune, it's worth it in this case for us to get the points and make him split his resources across the battlefields here. But this is a tough spot for us to be in. So now I've played the Victor Recruit token, and I'm trying to decide if I want it in base to be a threat on a later turn, maybe show that I could have Grand Strategem in my hand, even though I know I don't, or I can place it on the Zaun Warrens battlefield, knowing now that if he wants to retake this battlefield, he's going to have to invest in either a buff on his Poro, or he's going to have to spend his entire turn playing Master Yi instead. Um, this is another case where I was still a little bit worried about the Dazzling Aurora, but even if he had the Dazzling Aurora, I still think Master Yi is probably the correct play in this circumstance, especially if he has Zhonya's Hourglass. But he does not do that. He actually goes for the Dead Bloom Predator, which I was thinking about. I'd kind of forgot. I was planning and thinking about the Dead Bloom Predator being here, in which we have the Hidden Blade for, but he defies it, and this pretty much seals our fate for this game. We are not going to have almost any way to deal with the Dead Bloom Predator unless we draw into our next Hidden Blade or our other Cull the Weak. So we took a risk, we gambled, it didn't pay off, but sometimes that's just what you have to do when you're playing from behind like this. We know in game 3 that we're going to have a strong chance to close this out since we're going to have Arena's Greatest and be guaranteed going first, but we'll play this one out just to see what we can do. So he's certainly going to take the other battlefield. We lose it. Even though he recycles a rune, he now has full control of the game, being at 6 points. We don't draw anything that helps us, and we go pretty much to a game 3, since that's going to go to 5 might. So, yeah, game 3 it is. Tough break there. He had Defies when he needed to have Defy. He went first, and he had the 2 drops to answer our early aggression, and he drew pretty well. But now, at this point, I'm starting to think, maybe he doesn't have Dazzling Aurora. So I'm going to the sideboard. What am I thinking about bringing in? I don't believe I bring in anything in the end. And now I know that this game, I'm going first with Arena's Greatest. I want to race him to the 8 points. So I'm looking for my early plays like Poro, Watchful Sentry, Trifarian Gloryseeker, Soaring Scout. And then I'm also looking for some removal in my early hand or like a smoke screen so that I can immediately shut down the game in any tempo he has and get those hold points off early and go for the win. So right here, this is almost exactly what I was hoping for, right? I've got my turn 1 move right here with Watchful Sentry. Turn 2, I'm going to play either of these 3 drops along with a 1 might Victor, or I'm going to play the Victor token and then save Smokescreen to trade into it, or use Smokescreen the next turn to attack in and get over the hump with him holding. So starts off very standard 2-drop, hoping that he does not have a turn 1 play here. We go to 1 point because of Arena's Greatest, but he does. He does have his 2-drop. So now, and here it is. Here's the other bit of removal we have. So we can go in, get the point, and now what is my thought process? My thought process is I've just drawn Cull the Weak. Master Yi has no direct removal in his deck besides charming units off of base to get excuse me, to get the unit off the battlefield and in there. So I could have, in this case scenario, gone for the Victor token and the Cull of the Weak, but I believe I was worried about the Defy. So didn't go for it, decided that saving this Watchful Sentry is not worth it, especially because this is a card where we kind of want it to die because we get that draw card Death Knell effect. But I wouldn't have blamed you. There is a world where I think going for Cull of the Weak and killing off a Victor token is worth it, because then you would get the hold and you would get the extra card draw. But we decide to let him kill it, get our card draw, and we now have a very strong amount of cards in hand, and we know next turn we're going to be able to retake the battlefield and get a double hold. We see that he goes down with the Zhonya's Hourglass, and now I'm also starting to think, okay, I have the Grand Strategem in hand, so we know that units in base are going to be really valuable, especially once we get to 6 points, since we're going to be able to close out the game with that Grand Strategem. So we'll take our free point right here, and then we're going to Cull the Weak right after, so that he has to get rid of his Zhonya's or get rid of his Defy. We're going to most likely kill off our unit that's already in the battlefield, since it's already done its job and gotten us our point. And trying to think if there's any reason to not do that. Probably not, because there's no, at least as far as I know, there's no reason that we care about getting the whole point versus getting the conquer point. We put our stronger unit into the Grave of the God Willow battlefield because that he's now going to have to buff his unit to get us over the line to kill that to kill our unit on the battlefield, since they're both 2 might. And then I believe we left that battlefield open just in an attempt to maybe bait him into going for that battlefield when the next turn we could smokescreen it, or entice him to not kill off our unit and allow us to get the card draw. So I've got 4 runes left here. I definitely want to leave at least 1 up for smokescreen if I can help it, because I want to try to get the hold on this battlefield. Right here, I'm trying to decide if I want to play the token in base or if I want to play the token onto the Grove of the God Willow. The reason that I wanted to play it onto the Grove of the God Willow would be because not only would he not be able just to trade 1-for-1 units on there, but if he went to the other battlefield and then charmed, I would still have that unit on the battlefield and I could get that hold point. So I actually think that was a mistake for me not playing that recruit unit in base. And I think I'm thinking about it here, and I'm thinking I'm going to use my unit that can still move to actually reinforce him at the battlefield. And I think, oh, I don't. So I actually go for the split hold because I decide that I want to, why do I do that? I think I decide that I want to make him split his resources across 2 separate battlefields, and that I want to keep as many units in base as possible for when I do pop the Grand Strategem. So he's going to sabotage, so that kind of screws up that whole plan, right? Because he's definitely going to get rid of the Grand Strategem now. But the one good news about sabotage is because he just sabotaged, he now only has 6 runes, which means he cannot play Master Yi this turn. So could be worse. We know we're pretty much guaranteed to get points either by hold this turn or next turn through conquer. So, and we still have 2 smoke screens, which is going to make us retaking the battlefield from Master Yi much easier now. So he goes for the, what does he do here? He goes for the discipline on his guy so that he can take the battlefield cleanly from us over at Grove of the God Willow. We have no reply. There's nothing we can do. Wait for him to make his move. He decides to ramp. He does not have the charm, so we are going to get the 5th point from that hold. Now we've just drawn another Poro. Not the greatest draw in the world, but we know that we're going to be able to get over the hump with this guy now. So now what am I thinking? Well, what are the plays here? We have the Sprite Mother, 2 smoke screens, and a Poro, and we're left with 7 runes up right now. We know if we can get his unit off the battlefield here, next turn we are guaranteed a point. And the only way we're not guaranteed a point is if he has Master Yi Charm exactly next turn. But if he does have that, we still are going to have enough units on the battlefield here to be able to get that extra point here. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I can clear the minion or the unit off of Grove of the God Willow, I can get to 6 points. And remember, Riftbound is a race to 6 points, not 8. Once we have 6 points, we have all the power in the world to set up our game-winning plays, especially with the 2 smoke screens in hand so that we get double conquer the next turn. So what do I see here? Well, what I want to do then is get the 6 point while retaining as much of my units in base as possible, since we know he's most likely going to Master Yi his champion next turn. So in this case, I'm thinking to myself, well, let's try to get some Viktor value then. I can play Viktor, and then I can swing in with both my recruit and my Noxian Drummer, and then that will clear out the battlefield and generate a token for myself in base. And yeah, while it sucks that I'm not actually going to get to score the point this turn. Oh, no, I am. What am I thinking? Because I have the Drummer, so that becomes 4 might to 4 might. And then I can swing in with the 5th. So he's got no runes. He's tapped out, which means he's going to lose his unit and we're going to get the point with our recruit on the battlefield. So that now the only ways we don't win this turn, and we spawn the token in base, even better. So now we have some threats in base. We have 2 units on separate battlefields, which means he's going to have to spread his resources across both, which means he's either going to have exactly Master Yi and Charm, or he's going to have to play the Dead Bloom Predator and just let us get to 7 points. And then after that, we can set up with the hold, and we can swing in the next turn by just loading up our base with units and then double smoke screening whatever threat he has. And so, as you can see, I realized this. I bring all my units back to base that I can. Right here, I'm thinking, and then I'm like, he's either going to Master Yi or he's going to Dead Bloom, so I might as well bring him back to base. Next turn, we're going to be able to swing in with Sprite Mother, which is an extra 3 might, along with the double smoke screen, which is minus 8 might. And at this point, he's pretty much screwed. There's pretty much nothing he can do to win this game. So we'll watch it play out. He realizes it. He Dead Bloom Predators. He gets rid of my Viktor. And so now he just has to hope that I do not have the buffs to get over it at this point. He's probably got 1 buff in his hand. So at most right now, I know he can go to 12 might, right? Because he can play an Unguard on an 8 might unit. That brings it to 10 might. And then he gets the extra 2 might when I enter his battlefield. In my hand, I'm holding minus 8 might. The other thing that could happen in this scenario is his 1 spell could be Defy. So in that case, we know that he can be at 10 might, can't be buffed, cancels out one of my minus 4 mights. That means we can get him down to 6 might, and then we still have all our units on board. And so you do the math here. What do we have? Sprite Mother's 3 might. Poro is 3 might. That's going to be 6 right there. Bring in a recruit. That'll be 7, and then we have enough to go to the separate battlefields and win the game. So at this point, I know the game is won. We go down to 4. He doesn't defy it, which means he just has the buff in hand. Now we're going to swing. We know he can go up to 6, 8 might with that buff. I'm going to come in, do it again, give him the minus 4. We'll just let it play out for the sake of it. He's going to go down to 1 might, up to 3, up to 5 after his Unguard comes in, and it doesn't matter. I know I've won, right? We're going to get our point honor there for point number 7, and then we swing in with everything. That's 8 might. The max he can go to is going to be 5. Good game, and 2-1 victory for us. So, I'm not going to say I played that perfectly, but I think what was key there is after game 2, I realized that he was not a dazzling Aurora deck, and I realized that he was mostly relying just on playing a standard Master Yi deck, but with a little bit of ramp to get up to his bigger guys. So we knew that Dead Blooms were coming, we knew Master Yi was coming, we knew the Zonias was going to be there, which is why I left in the Sabotage, and we knew the way to beat those decks are with Order's really strong removal with Cull the Weak, Hidden Blade, splitting Master Yi's resources, forcing him to charm really low might units, making him spread out, forcing him to stop us from getting buffs from his own battlefields like Grove of the God Willow. And I think we did a good job. This was a well-fought game. Sometimes it comes down to draws. In this tournament I participated in, I actually went 3-3 overall, but we were literally like 1 play away from going 5-1, 6-0, even really. Like every single match I played in this tournament was super winnable, and that's what it comes down to sometimes in Riftbound. We're at a fine line right now where single play, single mistakes can win or lose entire matches. So in this case, I think that's really all I have to say about this. This is the first time I've done a video like this, so I'm sorry that it's probably pretty raw and unfiltered and just sort of a stream of consciousness, but let me know if you guys enjoy this type of video. I'm happy to keep doing this since I like to review my own games. Anyway, I figured I might as well put it out on YouTube for you guys, and people might be able to learn, take something from this. If you have any advice, any things I misplays that I didn't see, questions about the gameplay, I know Tabletop Simulator is a little hard to see and view sometimes, or if there's anything I didn't explain clearly, leave it in the comments. I respond to pretty much every comment that's left, and other than that, things to keep looking forward to. Master Yi, not Master Yi, sorry, a Hook Darius, uh, Token Victor, an updated Token Victor, sort of like this deck, and Dazzling Aurora Misfortune deck guides coming soon on that. Hopefully, some other content that I'm cooking up, maybe some matchup guides and stuff like that coming along as well. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for sticking around if you made it all the way to the end. And you guys stay safe and keep enjoying your games.